Well, good evening, folks. This is Bill Breeden. Welcome to my constellation tour number 33. Tonight we're going to go over another constellation along the ecliptic. We're going to talk about Gemini, the twins. We've got our program set up here for January the 10th, 2021 at about 8:35 p.m. as Gemini is best viewed between January and March. So it is most certainly a winter constellation. And it rises fast and sets fast. And it rises high too. It goes across the meridian and it ends up pretty high up in the sky. So there's plenty of opportunities to enjoy Gemini. It's located in the northern celestial hemisphere. So how do you find Gemini? Well, it's a bright constellation, so it's actually pretty easy. One method, go out in the winter, look south, and look for Orion. And you can't miss Orion's belt here. And if you imagine that Orion is standing up straight, and you look to Orion to the upper left of Orion, you will see these two stars here together. Those are the Gemini twins, Pollux and Castor. Pollux is also Beta Geminorum, and Castor is Alpha Geminorum. Now, Pollux and Castor are also part of what's known as the winter hexagon. And we talked about that during our Taurus tour, but now that it's mid-January, the winter hexagon has risen higher, so it's actually a little easier to see. Interestingly, it almost doesn't fit into the naked eye view because it's really pretty big. So with our 60-degree field of view here, you'll have to turn your head a bit to see the whole thing. So if you start with Pollux and Castor and you go up in the hexagon, the next bright star is Capella. You come over here to Aldebaran, and then Rigel, and then finally Sirius and Procyon. So the hexagon is really big. And when we went over Taurus last week, Sirius hadn't risen yet. So we went straight from Procyon to Rigel. So let's talk about Gemini. Again, it's best viewed in the winter between January and March, and even though it's visible well into April. And with it being along the ecliptic, the sun actually passes through this constellation between June 21st and July 20th each year. Of course, that's the summer, and it would be up in the daytime sky in the summer months. So it would be visible then. So let's have a look at the constellation lines. And you'll see Gemini is depicted as two stick figures, hence the Gemini twins, with Pollux and Castor being their heads. And here are the mythical drawings. Here we go. And you can see here, this is Pollux and this is Castor. So that's really the best way to find Gemini. And then you have Pollux's feet and you have Castor's feet. And there are a lot of deep sky objects to enjoy in Gemini. So you want to get familiar with it. And I'll show you the boundaries. And we'll show you the line of the ecliptic. ecliptic runs through Taurus, then through Gemini, and then through Cancer. So it's right about here. Okay. So let's look for some double stars within Gemini. Let's start with Castor. Castor is one of my favorite double stars because it's actually a 6-star system. But realistically, you'll only see 2 of the components. So Castor is going to be this star right here. So if you imagine that the Gemini twins are standing upright, which they will be as the year marches on, Castor is the twin that is on the right. And Castor is also a double star. So let's have a closer look through our finder. And through the finder scope, Castor doesn't even split. Now this is supposed to be a 6-star system, and we're not even splitting it the first time through a finder. So what does that kind of tell you? We're going to go for an eyepiece view, and this is with a 24mm panoptic. And it looks like there's a couple of components here. Let's see, these just look like field stars, so they're not part of the double star system. So let's try to split it manually with Stellarium. There we go. Okay. Right about there, it finally splits. So when you try this with your telescope, you will need to use a high power eyepiece, and I've done it before. And the two components you can get from Castor are very close together. So it's kind of a challenge one, but it is fun to do. And each one of those actually splits into a triple star. And you're not going to do that with a backyard telescope. So believe me, I've tried, and I can barely get the 2 stars out of it. But what makes it nice is that it's an easy star to find in the sky, being, the alpha star in Gemini. Okay, let's go back to naked eye field of view. And let's draw our constellation boundaries up here again. Here's where Gemini is. Here are the boundaries for it. And there's another, let's see. Now that's the only double star I have on my list. The other star is a variable star, actually. Zeta Geminorum. Yeah, so I would not expect this one to split because it's listed as a variable star. But actually it does have, it's a nice optical double, which is, well, I must have it on my list here. So give that one a try. I think that would be a nice target to go for. Okay, let's go back to a naked eye field of view. Okay, there's one Messier object in Gemini, and that's M35, and I believe it's by the twins' feet, and it is one of the sky's prettiest open clusters. So let's go ahead and find M35. I think it's by the twins' feet, and let's go on out to a dark site. Let's make it dark. Now here's Pollux and Castor here. So these are the feet. So if you just kind of pan around this part of the sky with binoculars, it should be pretty obvious. Here's a binocular field of view. Trying this without the go-to, if I can remember where to find it. This could be it right here. Problem is Stellarium's not going to let me click on it. It's going to show me individual star names. Now, these look like nebulas. Let's see, what's that? That's a nebula, that's a nebula. I think that might be it. So let's verify that with our go-to. Yep, that's it. So there's M35. It's an open cluster shining at magnitude 5, located 2,700 light years from Earth. And as I said, if you just scan around with your binoculars or your finder scope, in the general area of the feet of the twins, here's the heads, and the feet are down here. So you want to just kind of pan around that area, and you shouldn't have any trouble finding it. And there's a view of M35 through a wide-angle, low-power eyepiece. Okay, I have one more deep sky object on my list here within the boundaries of Gemini, and that is the Eskimo Nebula, or NGC 2392. Let's have a look through the finder. And it looks like you can just see a little smudge there through the finder. And putting a high power, or a wide angle eyepiece, low power, it almost looks stellar. The Eskimo Nebula is 4,100 light years from Earth, and it's magnitude 9.6. Let's put my 9mm eyepiece on it. That's the highest power eyepiece I use in regular observing. I do have a 6mm Plossel that I use, but it has such a teeny tiny pinhole to look through that I actually prefer the view through the 9mm Delight. With it being a teleview eyepiece, it gives such a clearer view, even though it's not quite as much magnification as you would get through a 6mm Plossel. So this is a real good simulation of what I've seen of the Eskimo Nebula. It looks almost stellar with a little halo around it. Okay, this concludes our tour of Gemini tonight. Good night and good seeing.